I'm Daniel Madison. The Fool is the introduction to the Master. We are informed by redemptive mistakes. Error breeds sense. Got it tattooed on my arm. Thanks, Luke Turner. Welcome back. In the previous video, I taught something called turnover. I remember the name of it, Charlie, afterwards when it was too late. Turnover. If you don't know what that is, if you haven't learned that, if you can't do it, then you need to go and figure that out first before we do this. It will just make everything so much easier. In this video, I'm going to teach downfall. This is an old school flourish cardistry move that's been in my repertoire for a long time. I have an endless and undying respect for cardists and people who can flourish. You don't realize how truly difficult and challenging it is until you try it yourself. I mean, yes, we can adore and be amazed and enamored, is that a word, Charlie? By cardists, by, what do you call yourself, a cardist? By cardists, but it's not until you try it, then you realize, oh man, these guys have godly skills, nothing but respect. And I'm, like I said in the last video, I don't have any kind of place to teach it or to really even talk about it much other than as a fan. When I go home with Charlie and we sit down and watch Murder, She Wrote, I'm always just flourishing and doing cardistry moves unconsciously without really paying attention to it. And it wasn't until recently where I started looking down and paying attention to what I was doing that I thought, I want to get into this. It's really meditative. It's really good for your mental, if you know what I mean. What am I talking about, Charlie? We've just begun and I've lost my train of thought. These are the Blue Remedies by Daniel Schneider and Daniel Madison. These follow up the Red Remedies. These went down really well, and it's incredible to see these all over Instagram and everywhere, and people adoring them. Daniel and I, Schneider and I, were both really excited to get these out, and I thought I'd teach downfall today with this deck, because if cardistry and flourishing isn't hard enough already, try doing it with a brand new deck, with a slippy deck. That's where the real challenge is. I always find it quite interesting when I see people flourishing, doing cardistry moves with a deck that looks like it's 5 years old, with all the dirty edges and fingers sweat. Is that a thing, Charlie? It makes me think, like, I don't know the answers, I'm just kind of thinking out loud at the moment. Is it fair? Like, I see a lot of flourishes with those kind of decks and think, could they achieve the same thing with a brand new slippy deck? But more importantly, does it matter? I don't think it matters, who cares? Yeah, so the remedies. Let's talk about the remedies for a little bit first, because this is the brand new deck. I made that kind of expressional video of with these in this place, a dream within a dream and all that. I feel quite uneasy, and I know it's a little bit unfair for me to do like a deck review of a deck that I'm attached to my own deck. So don't consider this a deck review, but I'm gonna tell you a few bits about this deck. So the color was kind of inspired, slightly inspired by anybody remembers the Madison Rounders, the blue version that we did. It's kind of inspired by that, but we wanted to go a little bit deeper, a little bit more of an ink blue, so that's why we ended up with this. The box, we went back to, again, another kind of nod back to the Rounders, a little bit of inspiration. The box is, I've kind of had my argument and I've put my thoughts out there about boxes, about what we do with, when you're creating a deck of playing cards. I don't think that you should put too much effort into the box in terms of, I don't know, the quality or the finish and all that. I don't really care too much about that, because when I use playing cards, as soon as I take the cards out of the box goes away and we don't talk about or use it. It wasn't until the remedies that I started paying attention to the opportunities that come along for magic tricks. Like there's some secrets hidden in this box, and the same with this. In fact, I'll show you it now. If you tear the box open on the flap, Charlie, please. On the flaps, we have a revelation, and I taught a few tricks that can be used with this for the remedies. Go find out my channel if you're interested. But yeah, as for boxes, don't really care. These playing cards, however, are beautiful. Obviously, I'm going to say that about my own playing cards, but I wouldn't have created them like this. I wouldn't have let them see the light of day if I wasn't this happy with them. It's nice to see this again. This is Angle Z, Angle 0, as call it what you want, the torn corner, impossible object. And if you don't know how to do this, I'll briefly show you. So we have a 2 of diamonds. Put the piece on the back, and then hand that over to somebody and say balance it, make sure it doesn't fall off. And they're like this, and then you just walk away, because they'll figure it out on their own while they're looking. They'll figure out, oh, hold on, that's shit. I didn't mean that. It is a really good trick, and I'm so happy with it. Yeah, so that comes in there, 2 of diamonds. I think there's something really nice, really kind of magical about you getting these playing cards and then figuring out the secrets and the bits and bats on your own. The differences, there are quite a lot of differences in this deck compared to the last version. And with the 2 jokers, I'm not sure if I mentioned, oh yeah, look at this, doesn't that just look beautiful, that blue Ace of Spades. But there's I'm not sure if I ever mentioned this, but if you look at the rose in Charlie's gob, in Charlie's beak, the rose actually reveals in Nine of Diamonds. A few people have mentioned this, like, why the Nine of Diamonds? It's just the only shape that looked good inside that rose. There's nothing symbolic really about that. It doesn't mean anything to either of us. So when you open a new deck of playing cards like this, obviously they're really slippy, and with cardistry and flourishing, I do know it's helpful to have a deck that's worn in and beat up and kind of sticks together a bit more than it does when it's brand new. And I'm kind of thinking about that a lot, because Downfall, I would much prefer to use this deck that's been used for a few weeks, because I know that it sticks together more than this deck would, which is going to just slide on its own. And the slippiness of this deck is just a testament to the quality of the deck itself. Let's get into it. Let's get straight to Downfall. I want to use a slippy deck to lead by example, and to kind of encourage other people to do the same thing. If you practice and if you learn all your cardistry and flourishing moves, even your sleight of hand techniques, with a deck that's beat up and a few weeks old, that doesn't have the same slippiness as a new deck, then you're going to struggle when you actually get to a slippy deck, or when you don't want to get into this habit of opening a brand new deck and having to break it in for 10 hours before you do anything serious with it. It's always wise for your mental and your dexterity to be able to do things with a slippy deck of playing cards. In fact, the slippiness is very useful and very helpful for certain things, usually in like the gambling world, in like the, did I just do air quotes for gambling? I do apologize. Apologies. What am I talking about? Let's get to Downfall. Downfall looks like this. Oh my goodness, first time, Charlie. Well done. And of course, the deck stays in order because nothing changes. It's only 3 packets, one circling through the air and landing basically where it started. So when you look at this, you notice the same qualities or almost the exact same movements as the turnover that we did yesterday. That middle packet's still doing the same thing, and it's finding itself back to the same position, but we're not holding on to it anymore. We're letting out into the air where we're going to catch it on the back of our hand. This is difficult to teach. I think the easiest way is to slow it down. So I'm going to capture it now a few times and slow it down, and then we're going to talk about it after that. That was a little bit messy, but I don't mind. It doesn't matter if you make a bit of a mess of it. Like if it does land in a mess on the back of your hand and it slips a little bit, it kind of adds to the difficulty of it. It's kind of a display of difficulty anyway. But the fact that it all comes together at the end, I'm not sure. You'd have to kind of think about it. I've not really thought about it too much, the cleanliness of it or the cleanness of it. I mean, certainly if you do it with an older deck, there's no way it's going to spread out. I mean, that one's moved a little bit, but there's no way it's going to spread as much as the blue one does. So it does look tighter, it does look tighter, it does look prettier. But does that mean that we should sacrifice and we should give up practicing with a smooth deck, a brand new deck? I don't think so. We're going to start with kind of a Z cut, believe it's called a Z formation, Charlie. This one's a little bit different because as soon as we've got the grip, you're going to just launch it into the air. Something different happens when it hits the air, or when the air hits it when it flies out of your hand. It kind of does a twist as it's turning, which causes it to land upside down. Like this. Now I'm going to pull both hands apart in the same way that you would do this. So middle packet, I'm going to pull them to the side, causing a spin. Middle packet here, spin, catch it back in the middle. If you do this a few times, you understand the pressure that's needed to be added to that middle packet. Now I'm going to pull my hands diagonally separate. So my right hand's going to go off to the right, my left hand's going to come back to the left, and it is a marriage between both hands that makes that middle packet go into the air. It's not one hand, it's not the right, it's not left, it's both. The only way you can figure out the correct height is by practicing, is by doing this. You don't want it to go too high. If it does land face down at that point, it means you're not going high enough. So this throw, the throwing of that middle packet, you do need to be confident with it. If you're not confident with it and you're trying to do it carefully, you're not putting everything into it, that's when it's going to go wrong. You have to do this with confidence. Now look at the way I'm practicing. I'm at my table, I've got my close-up mat, so when I do drop playing cards, they're not going very far and they're very easy to pick up. So this might be wise you doing the same thing. Your hand cannot be still when you catch that packet. It has to move in a way that's going to be able to balance that packet like this. If I just throw it in the back of my hand to keep my hand still, it's just going to bounce and slide off. If I move with the packet downwards so that it has a soft landing, I can control the way it lands. My hand when I'm holding that packet, notice one thing, finger 1 is pointing forward. What this does, it allows me to have a much bigger surface and a much bigger area for that packet to land carefully on. Forget about this hand for now, by the way. Focus on this. But from this position, I've already done the spin underneath here and throw it backwards onto the top of here, and all that's left to do then is close. When you're practicing and you're learning this, do not try to make that middle packet land the way that it does. Don't try. It's out of your control. Although it's your intention, you can't try to do it. If you try and if you think about it, you start to do different things and you start to try to manipulate that middle packet in a way that it doesn't need any thought. It just happens as long as your right hand and your left hand are doing the right thing. I really hope I've given enough information and guidance with this. One of those things that's just incredibly difficult to teach and talk about. I guess that's why most cardistry and flourishing tutorials, you don't have somebody talking away the way that I'm doing. You just slow it down. So here we go. If anybody watching this can do it and does have tips or learns anything along the way that might be useful, I think the comment section is a good learning place for this, like any tips, any advice that anybody else has got that I've missed. I've taught this before in a few different places and I'll leave some links in the video description. I think it might have been in a project I did called Madness. It might have been in Lethal. Just can't remember. I'm an old man now, Charlie. My memory's disappearing. And certainly if you do this, if you do execute and perform this and you catch it on film, put a tag on it, the hashtag Daniel Madison, because I want to see it. I love seeing it. I got a real rush, a real buzz when I saw Kayla Morelli doing it, and it made me go back to it and practice and play with it a lot more. If you're struggling with this, persistence, this kind of omelette requires the breaking of many eggs. But when you do hit it, when you land it and you figure it out and it works and it feels right, you won't stop practicing. I promise you. You'll just keep doing it and doing it. Because you have this realization, oh wow, it does work and this is how it works. And that's something that can only be taught from the cold school of experience. Now I'm going to put some more time into sharing a few more cardistry moves, old school flourishing stuff that I used to do back in the day. If anybody's got any preferences or anything that they want to see next, let me know in the comment section. There's one thing that I want to teach, and we'll probably do it in the next video. It's a flourish that I started doing, I think, in the Sky Advocates video, and it looks like this. I'll probably teach that in the next video. Oh, by the way, it's just popped into my head. Down for one thing that can help you keep those packets together is just making sure there's as much air removed from the deck as possible. What does that mean? An air cushion deck is designed that way to allow air in between the cards so that causes the slippy nature of them. Just really squeeze the deck together, really crush it together. Then when it comes to actually executing the move, you will notice that the playing cards behave so much more than they would if you didn't do that. And I hope that's not kind of a contradiction to my thoughts about using an old and mucky deck. Like, I'm still in the middle of this argument with myself, and I'd appreciate your feedback, a few ideas on what you lot think, if you use an old deck or if you use a brand new deck. I hope you enjoy like learning this, and I hope you enjoy practicing it. And if you're finding it frustrating and it's kind of getting you down and you can't do it, you just need persistence. This isn't supposed to be easy. It's not supposed to be easy. It's difficult, but that makes the rewards so much more plentiful, so much more beautiful. It is worth it in the end. I'll leave a link to the blue remedies in the video description, and I'll be back to spend some more time with you very soon. But for now, that's Charlie Madison. I'm Daniel Madison. Thanks. See you next time.